Here's something I do not say out loud very often. I do not run just one faceless channel. I run several different names, different topics, different audiences, and they all quietly come out of a single shared pipeline that I built once and keep reusing. People assume that running more than one brand means doing many times the work, that you basically clone yourself and then suffer. For a while, I believed that too. But the whole reason I can publish across a handful of brands without losing my mind is that I stopped treating them as separate projects and started treating them as one machine with a few interchangeable parts. So in this video, I want to show you exactly how that works. What is actually shared, what stays unique per brand, how I stop them from colliding, and the one real downside that nobody warns you about. No hype, no secret growth hack, just the actual shape of the system. First, the trap I fell into early. Let me start with the mistake, because it is the natural one and almost everyone makes it. When you decide to run a second channel, the obvious move is to copy everything. You copy the scripts folder, you copy the little publishing script, you copy the settings, you rename a few things, and now you have channel 2. It feels productive, it feels fast, and for about a week it is fine. The problem shows up later, slowly, in a way that is hard to notice until it really hurts. Every channel you add is now its own separate pile of code and files that all started identical but immediately begin drifting apart. You fix a bug in one copy and forget the other 3. You improve the captions on the new brand and the old ones quietly stay worse forever. You change how uploads work in one place and now they behave differently everywhere else. Nothing is broken on any single day, so you never sit down and fix it, and the mess just compounds. The work does not add up, it multiplies because now you are maintaining 4 slightly different versions of the same thing and none of them agree with each other, and it gets worse than just bugs. Each copy slowly grows its own little habits, its own tiny differences you never decided on. One channel ends up with the good thumbnail trick you discovered late, and the others never get it. One channel uploads at the right time, and another drifts an hour off because you tweaked it once and forgot. You are not running a system anymore, you are babysitting a small crowd of slightly broken twins, and every one of them needs you for something different. So the core idea is almost embarrassingly simple. The fix turned out to be one idea, and it is almost embarrassingly simple once you see it. There is one engine, and there is one small config file per brand. That is the whole trick. The engine is all the actual logic, the part that turns a script into a finished video and gets it uploaded. That code lives in exactly one place, and every brand runs the same copy of it. The config file is tiny by comparison. It is just the handful of details that make a brand that specific brand: the name, the voice, the colors, the topics, the upload account, the posting schedule. So when I want to add a new channel, I'm not copying the machine. I'm writing one short file that describes the new brand and handing it to the machine I already have. The code is shared, only the brand details differ. That one separation is the thing that took me from drowning in copies to actually being able to run several brands calmly. What every brand actually shares, let me make shared concrete, because shared is the part that saves you. Every one of my brands runs the exact same backbone, the same series of steps in the same order. It goes script, then voice, then visuals, then upload. A script gets written. That script gets turned into a voiceover. The voiceover gets matched up with footage and simple diagrams and captions and rendered into a video. And then the finished video gets uploaded on a schedule. That pipeline, those 4 moves, is identical for every single brand I run. The channel about one topic and the channel about a completely different topic both walk through the exact same assembly line. So when I make the captions a little cleaner, or I fix the way the title card gets trimmed, or I make the rendering more reliable, I do it once in the shared engine, and every brand gets the improvement at the same time for free. That is the entire payoff of sharing. One fix lands everywhere. I am not improving 4 channels. I'm improving one machine that happens to feed 4 channels. And this is not only about fixing things, it is about consistency too. Because every brand runs the same steps in the same order. I always know exactly how any video was made, no matter which channel it came from. There is no guessing about which copy had which quirk. When something goes wrong on one brand, I am debugging the one engine I know inside out, not relearning a slightly different version I half remember from months ago. Having one path that everything flows through is calming in a way that is hard to describe until you have lived with the alternative. What stays unique to each brand? Now the other half, because if everything were shared, they would all be the same channel, and that is useless. The config file holds the small set of things that have to be different. The first is voice. Each brand has its own narration voice, so they do not all sound like the same person reading different scripts. The second is the look, the accent color, the on-screen style, the little visual signature, so a frame from one brand does not look like a frame from another. The third is topic, which is really the whole point. Each brand covers its own subject and talks to its own audience, and that lives in the planning, not in the code. And the fourth is the schedule. Each brand posts on its own rhythm, its own days and times, independent of the others. So the machine is shared, but the personality is not. From the outside, these look like completely separate channels, run by completely different people. Because the parts that an audience actually notices, the voice, the look, the subject, are exactly the parts I kept unique. The parts they never see, the boring plumbing, are the parts I share. The rule that keeps them from colliding. Here is the part that took me the longest to get right. Because when you run several brands out of one system, the real danger is not quality, it is collision. Two brands stepping on each other. One brand's video ending up on the wrong channel, so I built in hard separation in 3 specific places, and these are not optional. The first is numbering. Every brand gets its own range of video numbers that never overlaps. One brand lives in one block of numbers, the next brand lives in a completely different block, and because the ranges never touch, two brands can never accidentally grab the same number or write over each other's files. The second is upload accounts. Each brand uploads through its own separate account with its own separate login, kept strictly apart, so there is no way a video can quietly go out on the wrong channel because everything got mixed into one place. And the third is schedules. Each brand has its own independent posting calendar, so they are never fighting over the same slot or all firing at once, and one brand going quiet for a week does not drag the others off their rhythm. Each lane moves at its own pace, shared engine, separated lanes. The code is common on purpose, but the numbers, the accounts, and the timing are kept apart on purpose, and that is what lets one system safely drive many channels without them ever bumping into each other. So what does this actually buy me? Let me be concrete about the real payoff, because this is the reason I do it at all. Once the engine is shared and the brands are just small config files, adding another brand is genuinely cheap. I am not rebuilding the machine. I write one short config, I slot it into its own number range and its own account, and it rides the same pipeline everything else rides, so I can publish across several brands without spending several times the effort. One improvement to the core lifts all of them at once. One new feature, like a better way to handle thumbnails or a cleaner render, shows up across every channel the moment I edit. That is the leverage. The work to run 5 brands this way is nowhere near 5 times the work to run one. It is closer to running one well, plus a small flat cost for each extra config. That gap between multiplying the work and barely adding to it is the entire reason this approach is worth the trouble of setting up. And there is a quieter benefit underneath it. Because adding a brand is cheap, I can actually experiment. I can try a new topic or a new angle as its own little brand without betting a month of work on it. If it works, great. It rides the same pipeline as everything else. If it does not, I drop one config file and lose almost nothing. Cheap to add also means cheap to kill, and that freedom to test ideas without much downside is worth as much to me as the time savings. Now the part nobody warns you about. But I promised honesty, so here is the catch, and it is a real one. When everything shares one core, then a bug in that core does not hit one brand, it hits all of them at once. The exact same property that makes a good fix land everywhere also makes a bad mistake land everywhere. If I break the rendering step, every brand's videos break together on the same day silently. If I get the upload logic wrong, I can get it wrong for every channel simultaneously. With separate copies, a mistake is contained. It only wrecks the one copy you touched. With a shared core, a mistake is amplified because there is only one copy and everyone depends on it. So the trade-off is not free. You are trading a bunch of small, isolated risks for one big shared risk. And the only honest answer to that is that the shared core has to be genuinely solid before you lean your whole operation on it. I test the core carefully, I change it slowly, and I treat any edit to the shared engine as a much bigger deal than an edit to a single brand's config, because it is. The blast radius is everything. When I touch a single brand's config, the worst I can do is break that one brand, and I will notice fast. When I touch the engine, I check it against more than one brand before I trust it, because a change that looks fine for one might quietly break another. That extra caution is the rent you pay for the leverage. You do not get the upside of sharing without also signing up for that downside, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. So who is this actually worth it for? Let me be clear about who should even consider this, because it is not everybody, and I would rather you skip it than waste a month. If you run one channel, you do not need any of this. One channel does not have a multiplication problem, so a shared engine is just extra structure you do not need yet, and you would be building a factory to make a single thing. Build the simple version, ship real videos, learn what the work actually involves. This whole approach only starts paying off when you genuinely have more than one brand, or you are dead certain you are about to, and you can already feel the copies starting to drift apart. That feeling, the dread of fixing the same bug in 4 places, is the actual signal. That is when the shared engine plus a config per brand goes from over-engineering to the thing that saves you. Before that point, it is premature. The right order is almost always run one channel properly first, feel the pain of the second one, and only then build the system that makes the third and fourth nearly free. So that is the real shape of it, the part that does not fit on a thumbnail. I do not run many channels by working many times as hard. I run one machine, carefully built, and I feed it one small config file per brand. The code is shared so every fix lands everywhere. The voice, the look, the topic, and the schedule stay unique, so the brands feel like different channels. The numbers, the accounts, and the schedules stay separated so they never collide, and I keep the shared core solid, because that one core is now holding up everything I publish. It is not magic, and it is not effortless. It is just refusing to do the same work 5 times and being honest that the convenience comes with a real shared risk you have to respect. If you want more honest, hands-on breakdowns of how I actually build this stuff, with the real trade-offs and none of the hype, subscribe and follow along. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.